Okay, so I've got my opening set out, and I'm going to go ahead and draw the door components now. So I'll start by going to my layers properties and click the new layer button to make a couple of layers. I'm going to make one layer just called A door, and I'll make that have a yellowish colour because it is timber after all. And then I'm going to set the line weight to a heavy-ish line weight, so I'm going to make that 0.35. Don't want it to be too heavy because the lines will be fairly close together, so I'm just going to leave it 0.35, and I'll make it the current layer as well. Just clicking on the button at the top there. You can always double click on the icon next to your layer name as well to make it current. And I'm going to make another layer. Click the new layer again, and I'll call this a door swing. So the thought process there should be that you need a line or an arc for the door swing that will have a lighter line weight than the other parts of the door. So I'm going to make the line weight for the door swing layer 0.15, and I'll make the colour a different shade of yellow. Any of these colours, whatever you think looks good really. And so I'll just make that so it shows on the projector, hopefully. And don't worry too much if you don't get the colour right, because you can easily change that while you're working. So, so that's all I'll need, just those two layers for now. And I'll then just very quickly go into draw a polyline. Now you could use the line tool here, but I'm going to use Polyline just to make it a grouped object. Starting on Polyline now, I'm just going to start on the corner, come down 40, across to the left 100 because that should be the width of my wall, and then back up to the top of the opening on the corner there to finish that, and then I'll press enter to finish drawing my polyline. And I can select that polyline by just clicking onto the edge somewhere, click the mirror button, and then pick on the two ends of the line that I left there previously. So just on the two end points there, and that will mirror down to the bottom. And it should fit exactly because this line should be exactly in the middle. So I'm going to say no, I don't want to erase source objects because I really want to keep the one I've already drawn where it is. And then, just remind me, which way does the door open? Is it with the door on the top there, or on the bottom?
The two lines are at the top.
They're up here, are they? Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, so that's... Now, which way, just out of interest... Oh, it opens into the hall, does it? You sure? That can't be right. Oh, okay, so is it the same on the other one? No, on the one I gave you. It's going to open that one up. Maybe I'm just imagining things, but I thought on this one... is it week 2? I don't remember where I put the plan, and maybe it's here. Oh, sorry, here it is. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so this is the one I was remembering, and it's a good chance to maybe just look at design for things like doors, because it's something that you should be thinking about. And it's an easy thing to change in your design. On yours, I know it's different. I know. Yep. So that's what I'm talking about. So this is something you could easily change as part of your studio project.
Can I ask a question
Yep.
with this particular room?
Yep.
The sizing of the bed.
Yep.
I mean, it's just really awkward.
It is.
Because you can't really put anything up where the door ends.
No.
And then your bed's going to have to sit
It's a terrible design.
at that wall there.
That's right.
The rope's too big, so
It
you
is.
don't have a walkway between the bed and
It
the
is.
rope.
It's ridiculous. Any bedroom that's less than 3 metres across in any direction should never have a built-in on that side.
Yeah.
So here it's 2.8 metres wide, which is too narrow already, and then with the built-in that makes it 2.2, which is so. Well, you take the built-in out. You take the built-in out, and you'd assume that it's not going to fit a double bed, so it has to have a single bed. maybe a double instead of a queen. You might just squeeze your double in, but it definitely won't fit a queen or a king, of course. So that's what you have to do with a small bedroom like that. It would be for a child's bedroom or for a single person, and that's all you can do. So I think either. They're both similar, and I don't think. Yeah, you can take it out either way, and you can add your own built-ins as well as part of your proposal. Yeah, all the built-ins can be taken out. It's fine. So it's good to think about those things, and yeah, of course it'll affect the planning and the door as well. So the reason the door opens outwards on your plan is because the people with that project were probably trying to get more space for the interior. Fair enough. And you'll find older buildings from a certain era, so it's that period after the war up until the 70s, 80s, when they did those really small rooms. Mostly post-war, but it did start with the beginnings of modernism, so you'll see it sometimes with the pre-war buildings, but usually they're bigger. So so nowadays 3 metres would be the minimum dimension you'd find in a bedroom in either direction for a new building, but from this area you'll find sometimes they do have those small ones. So I think the robe is a problem. I would just take that out. But then the door, I don't think it really gives you that much extra by having it open out. And it's a terrible thing from a design point of view. It just makes it an unpleasant space. If you have an outward opening bedroom door, I think it's something you should never have in an architect or an interior designed interior. So it should be, as a minimum, having those elements that give it extra quality, like doors that open in the right direction. That's a basic thing. And the other thing I was going to mention is the direction, whether it's left or right-handed. Which way do you think is the traditional way? In this case, so having, well, left, so you mean in this case having the, what on the left, the handle on the left? If you were coming from the hallway, is that what you mean? So the handle would be down here. That's totally right. That's 100% correct. So the door would be on this side. And people look at that and they just look at the plan and think, that gives me less space and makes it harder to get in. But it actually gives you more privacy. And also, the door, remember, can open all the way back to the wall, so it's not going to restrict access all that much. And privacy is a big issue, so that is the traditional way, to have the door opening and blocking the space, not like this, where when the door's open, you lose all privacy. And so it's a common mistake people make. They look at the plan and think, this way gives me more access, and that's how I'll do all the doors that go into rooms in this way, where they're close to the corner. And it's not necessarily good design when you do that. Anyway, I know that I've gone on a little bit about that, but it's, I think, interesting. And then, so I'm going to do it the way it was done traditionally. We can easily flip it afterwards, I'll show you. So I'm going to draw a line from the corner. Coming to the left, we know it's 820 because the opening was 900 and I've come in 40 mil on both sides. Then we've got the door thickness. Now, this is optional for a 1 to 100 drawing. You definitely don't need to show it, but it's an option. If you want to include it, you can. So, do you remember door thickness? What's the normal door thickness? That's, yeah, you can do 30 or 35. Both are okay. So I'm going to do it 35. And then, so I've just done that by drawing lines. And then I'm going to change to my door swing layer and draw the arc. So with the menu under arc, you can go to start, center, end. And that is the best option for drawing door swings. And then if you follow the prompts, you can see it asks you for the start point. If you think about the direction of your angles, you can work out where the start point should be. Does anyone be brave and guess where you'd start the arc? Okay, so yeah, well that's the centre. So yeah, that's good to think about this. So that's definitely going to be the centre, but we need to start it here. And the way you can work it out is by remembering that you draw anti-clockwise. So think about your clock going around a circle like this. So I can't start here because then I'd have to come around clockwise to this point. I want to go anti-clockwise, so I start instead at the corner of the door. Then it'll ask me for the center point. So that's where I give the hinge, which is the other side of the door, where the door and the door jamb connect. And now you can see it's coming around anti-clockwise. It's a bit unclear because I've got auto turned on, so I'll turn auto off, and then you can see really clearly that it's going anti-clockwise from my door. And then I click on the corner of my door jamb, and I've got a perfect door swing. Now, if I wanted to flip it, I could use this line to mirror, but I'm not going to worry about that. So I'll delete the line instead and then make the block. Now, I've been talking to you a bit about some of the technical aspects of blocks, but at first, as long as you follow through these steps, you shouldn't need to worry too much about those things. So make sure you've made the layers and put the objects on the right layers first. And then, unlike a lot of the other commands, this works best if you make sure you've got nothing selected and you haven't got any commands running. So by pressing escape twice, it'll make sure of that. Then you can do a crossing, just like I'm here, by clicking a point that'll let you go over all of those objects that are part of the door, but not part of the wall. So you can see there I've got the two door jambs, but I haven't got the line here at the top or the bottom that should be part of my wall. So then, if you go into the, again, the block panel on the Home tab, you'll see just next to the Insert button is a button called Create, sometimes called Block as well, because it creates blocks. So you can see there it says Create at the top, but Block at the bottom. Same thing. Click there and it'll bring up block definition. And the easiest way to remind yourself that you've done everything you need to, that you've done all the steps, is to remember you've got to give three things. Okay, so the three things are a name. So the name is going to be door P for plan 900. So 0900. Okay, why have I made it 0900? So that it goes in order if I have other sizes. So that's the first thing. The second thing is an insertion point. And this is the one you usually forget. So to give the insertion point, you just click Pick Points, or Pick Point, and then click the point you want to use to place the door. So that'll usually be one of these corner points on the wall. Not on the door jamb, but on the wall next to the jamb. So I think this might be a good point for me to use later to place the door in my other openings. So I'll click there, and now you can see I've got some numbers in here. Doesn't matter what they are, as long as I've given that point. And then the third thing is the objects. And we've done that already. I did that at the first step. I've selected the objects. So it says 7 objects selected. Oh, convert to block. And so you can just leave it on that option. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you probably do actually. Yeah. That's how I found out by looking at the projectors. So again, leave that option, convert to block, and you should see it'll have a little thumbnail showing you what you selected at the beginning. So I've got the three things. I've got a name, insertion point, and the objects that are going to be made into a block. Don't worry about all the other things, just click OK when you've done those three things. And now I can tell it's a block because if I select it, it comes up as one thing. Now I'll just make one opening, so I'll just do it like this one, but it doesn't matter if you do it like the other plan. So maybe this door here would be the same. I know in your other plan you don't have one there, but I'll just do it as an example. And Or maybe I'll do this bedroom too, that won't take long. Ah, this is quite different actually. What have we got there? Oh yeah, so it's at the return here, and then that's open, is it? Okay, so let's just say... Okay, so it's around here somewhere, that door, and so I just have to look one more time. Yeah, there's a return there. Okay, so I'll just bring this wall across and again show you a couple of little tricks. So if you've got a situation like that, okay, so you can easily add in extra lines for walls as you go, and then so now I can just quickly make an opening. Same way as before, so just drawing the lines, offsetting 450 both sides, trimming. So I've got then an opening that should be 900 between those 2 points. And so then to insert that block I've made, I can go to Insert. And so if you have the block in your file, notice how you get it in this panel here. So remember I was saying that the block lives in your file, and you'll see it either in this panel under Insert, or remember that you've got the More Options button at the bottom that'll bring up the full dialog box, and then you'll see the same things in the list here. So I've got those 2 blocks that I have in this file. So I'll actually just look at my plan again. Yeah, so this door you can see is the other way. I'm going to do mine the opposite to that, just so it's different to what I did for the bedroom. So I'm going to put the door down here. Remember, it's easy to flip them later if you decide to change the direction. Okay, so I want it rotated after I place it, so I'm going to tick Specify on Screen under Rotation. And I've got this one, or normally you want to leave that one ticked, Specify on Screen under Insertion Point. Now this one here, Specify on Screen under Scale, I've been using AutoCAD for too long, 25 years, and I've never found that useful in over 25 years. Right, so you can just skip that one. It's useless. It just is too hard to work with effectively. So normally you just leave that turned off, and the other 2 are the ones you need to think about. So first one again, Specify on Screen for insertion. That will be on nearly all the time, and then decide whether you need to rotate it. So I'm going to click OK, and now you can see I can click the corner of my opening, and then with the cursor you can see I get a chance to rotate it after I've placed it. It's snapping to 90 degrees because I've got Auto turned on. So there you can see when Auto's turned off, it'll let you do any angle. But for an object like this, Auto is going to help. So notice how I can rotate it to get it into the position that I want, opening to the right, and that's pretty close. So that's as close as I need it to be. So that's the first step. You insert it often, maybe with the setup as close as you can get it to what you want. But then what would I do here if I wanted to open the other way? Right, so these are the things you should be thinking about when you're working with blocks. Would you go and make a new block if you want the door to open the opposite direction? No? So what would you do instead? Exactly. You can just mirror the block. It'll still stay as a block. So I'm just going to select it, click Mirror, and then go to the midpoint on any of these lines in the centre of the door. Now I can go straight down and make a vertical line, and you can see there going to the midpoint below the center line there will work as the other end of the mirror line, so I'll just click there. You can see that the preview to the left is correct, but when I click there, what happens? It asks you if you want to erase source objects. So what do I want to say here? Yes, this time I do want to erase the original. So yes, and I'm left with just a new one. Okay, so hopefully you can see from that how much easier it is when you do the opening first. So again, maybe a little bit faster. Do the opening for the bedroom. So I'm just going to offset 900 here. Right, and so then insert, and I can get the door in on the corner, rotate it, and it's done. If I realise that the door is, now this must have a small door, maybe that bedroom's got a really small door actually, so that might be a an 800 opening, which would make it a 720 door. So what would you do then to make that different door size? Yep, now look, you can try to modify this one, but it's actually going to be easier to make the block again. Now, you don't need to draw everything from scratch. You can modify this and then make a new block out of those objects. So if you want to unblock something, you've got a block and you want to make it back into the things that it was to start with, the lines and the arc. How do you do that? Exactly, explode. Explode works on pretty much everything in AutoCAD. So if you've been using it from the modify menu, you'll see it's right down the bottom there, which is easy to remember. But on the ribbon, it's the button here. So it's the box that looks like it's been broken apart into all the different faces. So if I've got my door already selected, so if I click explode, it's going to tell me one found. So it's exploded my door, and now I've got all the separate lines. So I'll show a couple of quick ways of making this smaller. Going to offset 100 mil. Going to select my arc and then click inside. Right, so notice how it's come across 100 mil here and 100 mil here. Right, so that's the great thing about arcs. They're symmetrical and concentric, in other words, they're parallel curves. So I'm going to delete the bigger arc, and now what could I do to bring this rectangle up? I could trim and that would work, but I'd need to use a few steps. Stretch, yeah, that's right, that's it, spot on. Stretch, and then going right to left to make a crossing, so we get the green window. Now I can just click on the corner here, and then bring it up to the end of my arc. Same with the wall. So again, stretch, right to left, click on the corner of the door jamb, bring that over to the corner of the arc. So now I've got a smaller door, and I can make it into a block as well. And hopefully you'll see now, once you get used to remembering the steps are not going to take you very long. I've selected my objects, create. So the name is going to be door P0800. Pick point, and I'll use the corner point again as my insertion point. Done. I've got a new block. It's that easy. Okay, so I'll give you some time to work on those. Have you looked at doing the window joinery? How to draw the window frame and everything else? Okay, so with the windows, if you've done all the doors, have any of you done or tried to draw the window frames? Oh, so you know how to draw the window frames?
But I wouldn't mind a revision.
Yeah. Just start trial, it's fine. Yeah, it'll be basically the same process. And then think about other places you can use blocks. So for the plumbing components and some of the elements in the kitchen as well. But for those also, don't forget that the library, so I'll just show you the very last thing. When you go to Insert, you won't see these library objects in the panel here. You need to go to More Options, Browse, and then to find the library that we have on the network here, you need to go to the P drive, Interior Design, AutoCAD Library, and then you'll see AutoCAD 2D and Blocks 2D, where we have most of the 2D blocks. So I'll go to Blocks 2D, and then Bathroom, and we'll get a basin this time, basins. So how do I get the thumbnails to show over here? Yeah, exactly. So you can do views up here and go to thumbnails, or when you right click, under the view menu there, you'll get more options. So you can go to large icons if you want to see larger ones. So you can choose any of these basins. I think you're free to change the plumbing fixtures in your design, aren't you? Yeah. So I'll just choose one of these at random. Okay, so again, just the insertion point and rotation options turned on. Click OK. So I'm going to choose a point. Now, there it's snapping to the midpoint. That's okay, I can move it afterwards. So I'm just going to snap, and then using the cursor, get the angle I want. Click. Very last thing I'll say there, when you're inserting blocks from the library, they use those tricks I mentioned very briefly that you can use when you're working with blocks and layers. I'm not going to show you those, but I'm just going to show you, you should make a layer. I'm going to make one called A bath. So you should make a layer for those elements. And you'll see I'm going to put the block, by selecting it, onto that layer. And can you see what's happened there? Some of the lines, or some of the objects in that block, have taken the layer, or the colours of the layer. Okay, so there's a trick you can use to do that I haven't shown you yet, but you'll need to know at least that if you get a block that's been made by someone else, normally you'll need to put it on the right layer. That's all there is to it.